Hey, it's a privilege to be with you tonight on a messy day. I was coming from Emmitsburg and it was snowing, so
It's snowing here.
you know Thanksgiving is coming. I think it's snowing here too now. So thank you for coming out. As Joanna said, this gathering has two purposes. One is just to provide resources to help us as we prepare for the end of our own lives at some point. Actually, can I have one of those copies as well? Got it. But also to help us prepare our family members who might be sick, who might be dying. And my own father has been very sick this past week. So some of these questions my own family is considering right now. So to provide resources, we've got a lot of different information available, and you can follow up after the presentation and talking to the different panelists, get some information. But secondly, as Joanna said, also education. This is the very beginning of a push around the diocese to start talking more about the Christian perspective on life and death, and particularly in the face of a push to promote assisted suicide. So we face the problem of suffering, and there are different ways we can try to address that problem. There are good ways and there are bad ways. Everybody wants to help the person, so the intention is the same, but there are good solutions and bad solutions. It's a very delicate question, the question of suffering. When we see someone we love who suffers, it tears our heart, and we want to help them, and we try to find the best way to help them, but that's exactly why Jesus gave us the church, because these questions are too big for us. These struggles are beyond us, and so we turn to God. And as Christians, we know that God is close. That's the beauty, especially of our Catholic faith. God is present in the Eucharist. We bring our troubles to Him. We know that when we pray, God answers. He gives us ideas. He gives us peace of soul in the midst of big troubles, right? So we bring it to God and we say, God, help me, right?
Yes.
God is close. So we always want to remember that in the midst. Everyone struggles, everyone suffers in life, but you don't have to suffer alone. Jesus is there to help us, to make our burden lighter, to encourage us, to take away our fear, to give us peace. So the Christian perspective on the end of life and how to prepare for death. I want to begin with a passage from Paul's letter to the Philippians. St. Paul says, I hope that now, as always, Christ will be honored in my body, whether by life or by death. For to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain. If it is to be life in the flesh, that means fruitful labor for me. Yet which I shall choose I cannot tell. I am hard-pressed between the two. My desire is to depart and be with Christ, for that is far better, but to remain in the flesh is more necessary on your behalf. So this is the Christian perspective. We value this life on earth, but we also value the life to come. We look forward to the life that is to come. No one has a better articulated understanding of life after death than the Catholic religion. Only because Jesus told us. He didn't tell us everything. There's a lot of mystery. But He did tell us a good bit. That there is a God, that God is Trinitarian, that those who die live with God, see Him face to face, have friendship with Him. Those who saw Him in this life will be with Him in the next. We're in the month of All Souls and All Saints. Right? November 1st, All Saints Day, November 2nd, All Souls Day. We die, there's some period of purification called purgatory, and then for those who saw God, there's heaven. So we look forward to that. We have some understanding of that. But we also value this life. Paul says, I don't know which way I want to go. Of course, I don't have to decide. It's up to God anyway. So as long as I'm here, I'll live this life with gusto in anticipation of the next. Death itself is tough. It's not a pleasant process. It wasn't meant to be that way. But at least we look at it, hopefully, because we look beyond it. It's not an end, it's a transition. So Paul gives us a perspective, and this is the Catholic perspective. We value both, that this life on earth doesn't have absolute value. It's partial value, only in anticipation of the next, only in preparation for the next. It only has meaning if there is a next. Really. And so there's a principle, and maybe this is what I hope you take away tonight, this very simple principle, because when we face big decisions of medical care and how to help those who are sick and dying, we permit death to occur, but we refuse to cause it. And that's an important distinction. We permit it, it's going to happen. We can let it happen. We don't fight it at all costs. We permit death, but we refuse to cause it. Right? We don't want to hasten it intentionally. We don't want to be the cause of it. So then they say, well, should we do this treatment or that treatment? Well, let's think about it. If the person is naturally dying, we can let it happen. But if we don't do this treatment, or if we do this procedure, would we be causing it? Would we be almost intending it? So we permit it, but we refuse to cause it. This document that was given out, Healthcare Directives, a Catholic Perspective, there's two documents. One is, as Joanna said, the question and answer. There's a bigger document, that's kind of like the Cliff Notes. The Q&A is the Cliff Notes to the bigger document, right? When you're in school, you're always looking for the easy way to study, the Cliff Notes. Well, you got it. Archbishop Roy gave you a cheat sheet. But the other document, Healthcare Directives, that's the one I really want to turn your attention to tonight. This is an excellent resource, in particular the last 4 pages, pages 13 to 16. So if you read anything, I encourage you to read those 4 pages. And then if you want to read more, go beyond that. But those 4 pages. Pages 13 and 14, what it is, it's a document that states how the Catholic Church approaches death. And you can sign it and use this as kind of your statement, right? We just say, we just follow the church. These questions are big. It's broken into 6 different little paragraphs, 6 different points, which give great guidance. They're very, very succinct, but they give good guidance. So read over that and ponder that. And then if you want to go deeper, then read the rest of this document, read the Q&A. And then maybe if you want to go deeper than that, get the full document. But start there. And you can use that as a statement of how you want to approach death. And what kind of care you want. I'm just going to pull out a paragraph from that as an illustration. On page 13, there's a paragraph called Spiritual Support. So, tonight we're going to hear about different documents you can prepare to state your intentions about how to prepare for death. Sometimes they're called living wills, sometimes they're called event directives. You don't have to have anything, but if you want to have a document, this is an excellent one. The bishops work really hard on this document to give it to us, to give us guidance. So, and this is the Catholic perspective, right? You won't find any other document, legal document, that has this paragraph. Spiritual support. I request that my family, parish, community, and friends support me through prayer and sacrifice, and that the sacraments of the Church be made available to me as I prepare for death or face serious illness. I wish to see a Roman Catholic priest, and to receive the sacrament of the sick, formerly called the last rites, as well as confession and communion. Right? Now that's a living will. Before I die, I want to see a priest, and I want the sacraments. Right? That's my greatest assurance to get me to the next place. So those 2 pages are excellent. Give some guidance. And then the next 2 pages after that, 15 and 16, and we'll learn more about this later, the legal perspective. But if you want to designate someone to be your spokesperson in the event that you can't speak for yourself, you can use that document, those 2 pages, just to specify who you want to speak for you. Legally, certain people will naturally speak for you if you can, like your next of kin, your spouse. But if you want to specify someone, you can use that document. So, again, just a great resource, and hopefully you take this home. It's available online. Tell other people about it. So, very good to be with you. Thanks for coming tonight.